Now I have to remember how Facebook changed it so that I could do a watch party. It's still, I'm not seeing it up yet. I just refreshed. I'll refresh again. See if I can figure this out. Oh, that's right. I have to change it to me. And then share it. There you go. Holy crap. All right, I'm not seeing video though, man. Mark.
Yeah.
You still have the Stormcrow emblem on it.
There you go.
All right, guys. Hey, love you all. Here we are again on episode 37. Who would have thunk that we could go 37 episodes?
We'll be at 50.
Well, no, now we do once a month. That would be like another year. Anyway, thanks for joining us, you guys, all the beautiful people that support us. If you happen to be a millionaire and you would like to just flow with money because me and Mark are awesome, feel free to do so. If you do, Mark promises to wear his yellow summer dress. Anyway, Mark Potter, my co-host and tech guy, JD Glasscock. You're watching Stormcrow, Dreamers Talking to Dreamers, and then of course Lola.
Hello.
We have some great guests tonight, so let's bring them in. Who do you want to bring in first?
Let's go ahead and bring Anam.
Is that how you say it?
I
think it's Anam.
Anam.
Anyway,
oh yeah.
You guys, great actress, brilliant writer and actress from across the ocean, and we always love bringing people from other countries. It's always an honor for us to host them. So bring her in, man. Did she have any photos or anything she sent you?
Yeah.
Anam, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, there you are. There's your pretty face. Look at that. Did you put up her photos?
Yeah.
Okay. So the next guest is someone I've actually known for a long time. Like probably I met her in LA at the first film festival I ever did with the first short film I ever directed, and that was probably at least maybe 8 years ago probably. And she's a beautiful spirit, very supportive and very talented in her own right. She's a writer, director. Her big she's doing a web series right now, but we'll get into when we have the interview. But amazing. Bring in Laura Black. Laura, I thought you'd taken a trip with them, man. At first it showed like a street.
Oh.
I was like, what is Laura? Did I catch her on the way to the store or what?
No, I did this. I did this live Zoom thingy, and I was the narrator. So they wanted us to have little pictures of the city. It was set in San Francisco in 1962. So that was my little, I don't know, my little picture that was representing the city.
What was I gonna say? I did that now. Now, a lot of times when I write, especially if it's lyrics or poetry or whatever, I just tend to kind of go off the cuff and spin whatever's in my head. But occasionally, though, I'll actually pick a subject and try to focus on writing that and actually have like a thing I'm doing. And I wrote lyrics once called 1951, where I went and actually studied Googled all the things that happened in 1951 and then tried to include them in the song. It's always interesting to kind of look back at different eras or for whatever reason you're doing it. And it's kind of cool to look back at some of the moments of that time period.
Yeah.
Did you go and Google a bunch of stuff from that time period?
No, the director actually had some footage and some photos that he used. So that one was more representative of the street on which these folks of the reading that I did lived. So that's why that was chosen. And since I was a narrator, you didn't need to see me. I was just the voice. The other actors were performing and doing their wonderful jobs. And, I just kind of helped move the engine along.
Well, that's good. Narrating sounds like fun. So you were the voiceover, the VO?
You had to kind of like do the setups, like the action and the scenes and set it up. And if there was something, because if, in Zoom readings, it's always a little bit more difficult to show action, if at all.
This was a cold reading? Is that what it was?
No, it was rehearsed, but it was a reading that they performed via, well, originally it was supposed to be on Zoom, but then they did a Facebook, they taped it and put it up on YouTube. So there was like 9 characters and it was a farce. So there's a lot of entrances and exits, right? So you had to kind of like really move it along, like, and they rush to the door and, things like that. So it can.
Oh, you're reading the actions.
Indeed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah.
Oh, it's funny. Okay. So let's get going. We'll start with Anam. What is something you've done in the last couple years you thought turned out amazing and you were very passionate about and happy with the end result?
Sorry, just this voice is breaking a lot from here. I don't know what's happening.
Oh, okay. What project have you done in the last 2 years that you thought was awesome and you really loved the outcome?
I did 2 projects with ARY. It's a big channel here in Pakistan. So one project, sorry, with Syed. No, with Syed, I did one project for A+. That was a family story, and he said, I have a project for you, and I came to meet him, and he discussed the story, and it was my first time with him. So Syed is kind of very, I think you will mind me saying that. I hope not. He's a difficult person to work with because he is very different on the set. And, and he's a different person when you meet him in real life. So he's like very professional. So yeah, that was a family story. The typical family stories in Asian countries. So I did that with him. And this project currently I'm doing right now is for ARY. It's, I will say it's one of the good project, taking a lot of rating. It's Mera Dil Mera Dushman.
If that's a current project, I'll get to that in a second. What is a past project that you loved and thought was awesome?
With him or the journal one?
No, just any project you've done in the last couple of years.
Oh, so I did Doughball. It was a family story. A girl falls in love with a servant. So yeah, and Recently, 2 years back, I did a comedy show, which is still going on. I think it's a 100 plus series. It's Jalebi. It's on YouTube also. So it's a comedy play. So I'm speaking in regional language in it, which is not my language. So we have different regional languages here in Pakistan. Urdu is our native language, and we have Punjabis from the uh, Punjab region. We have different other languages also. So I'm doing that. That's a comedy thing. But me, if I talk about myself, I'm most known for my serious acting. Well, I can do both. I can do comedy. I can do serious. But hello, yeah. So I'm known for my serious acting more.
Well, Saeed, I think, does mostly dramatic stuff. So he
Yeah,
does that kind of.
yeah,
Not that that's what he wants to do, but I've seen most of the stuff he gets hired to do is that soap opera kind of dramatic
yeah, yeah.
stuff.
We have we have dramatic things. We have like comedy things
But do
here.
you like comedy better? Do you like comedy more?
Um, Comedy is difficult because then you have to give reactions immediately to other person. But I think it's been a while that I'm
Well,
doing
comedy's
both.
tougher than
So
drama because it requires timing
yeah,
and delivery.
if you're good in terms of timing, then you should do comedy. And if your sense of humor is good, you can pick the lines, you can alter the lines sometimes. So you should go for comedy. I think I do good in comedy. I manage. So
Well, it's kind of like even when you do drama, it's much easier for most actors to do angry than it is to do vulnerable. You know what I mean? Like I've known actors that I've seen them do vulnerable, and it's no offense against them, it was horrible. But then all of a sudden you gave them dialogue where it was just them being pissed off, and it was really good. You know what I mean? So there are certain aspects, comedy being one of them, that are much more difficult, require much more skill to be able to pull off. Like especially comedy, because it requires not only the right delivery from the actor, but it also requires the right timing of delivery, and it requires on the interactions between, unless you're doing stand-up, you and the other actor that you're doing the comedy bit with. So
yeah, sure. Yeah, that's right. You have to have a good timing.
Well, you're in comedy. You're more in a group shot. You very rarely you're in a single on comedy, because you're trying to. Part of the comedy is usually the reaction of other people. Whereas like drama, you'll do a lot of single shots because you're literally trying to get the focus on that one character and their dramatic dialogue or their emotion or whatever.
Yeah.
It is. But let's
it's like that.
Laura real quick, and then we'll bounce back to you. Laura, what is a project you've done in the last? Now I know that there's a project I'm thinking of that you've done for so long now. It could be a current and a past and a future, but we'll use that one and whichever one you want to use, but then dance on a couple other things that I've known you've done.
I've been doing a web series called Agnes and Estelle, which is a comedy web series about an older lesbian couple that kind of like Golden Girls, but lesbian Golden Girls. And it's like the whole theme is lesbian Golden Girls meet Modern Family. So that's
without Estelle.
Excuse me?
Without Estelle.
No, Agnes and Estelle. They're both.
Yeah, no, I mean, what's the oldest one in Golden Girls?
Oh, Estelle Getty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without her character, your two are more based on the tall one and the
Arthur and Betty White.
Yeah.
Because one's real naive and the other one's kind of like foul mouth and swears like a sailor and more worldly.
So all I meant by that is you were missing the one. It's great. I love your web series, but it's missing the real old little one that's always.
We don't have the grandmom in this. So yeah,
but it's very good, and the comedic timing is there, and it's although it almost reminds me of a little bit of just because of the style, not exactly, but it's got kind of almost like an English flavor humor in there, meaning in a sense that like dry.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. That's kind of what I was thinking of too. I try not to be too obvious, with it. I do write all the episodes, but my gals are they're really terrific actresses. They're not a real couple in real life, they're actresses, but they're really quite good. And then you start hearing their voice and then you start writing for that voice. I'm also a theater writer as well and director, so I've written some plays. And interestingly, these two characters came from a play of mine, and that's where the impetus for them came from. But I also
like the concept that you did in shooting it. So she shoots it almost like we're looking right now, except there's only two of us, and then occasionally they have a third one. But you shot it almost like something like this, that kind of setting.
right.
So I thought that was interesting. Like they're always zooming. That's how they talk. They're zooming with each other.
Well, they're separated because of COVID, so that was where the idea came from. But yeah, that between when you were talking earlier on about comedy and drama, it's sort of like with my writing, I'm either comedy or thrillers, it seems. But you can probably attest to this, JD. It kind of has a rhythm to it, like with comedy, it's like build, then the release is the laugh. And in thrillers or horror, it's like build, and then the release is either the kill or, the getaway or whatever like this. So you keep the audience sort of wanting what's going to happen to them in that next thing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm strange in the sense that I write really, Laura, I don't know if you've ever actually read my feature scripts, but I write really intense, action-oriented, dramatic stuff, but I put comedy in there.
Yeah.
Because you can't do 2 hours straight of intense, dark action without
You make
overwhelming
dramatic
people.
stuff also. Sorry to cut you. You make also dramatic stuff. I've seen your link, the one you sent me. So it was kind of dramatic,
Yeah, shorts are different. I don't have enough time in an 8-minute short to always put in comedy and stuff like that. I mean, when you have 8 minutes and like $500 to shoot something that you actually want to win stuff, then you literally have to just go bam, 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 bam for 8 minutes. And usually $500, you can't do stunts. You can't do. So my natural inclination is to write action-oriented, stunt-oriented, but with a lot of character development and a lot of imagination features. But when I came out of the gate shooting shorts and realized that when you only have $500 to $700, $800, and you're trying to pay everyone and all that stuff, you're very limited in what you can do. And so literally I couldn't do stunts, I couldn't do action. Comedies usually require more money because usually you need props and setup and multiple locations and just more to be able to do comedy. So I would give a lot of respect to Laura in this aspect because the way she set up her writing with her web series is it requires little money because of the way she stylized it. And then it's based more on dialogue and reaction action between these characters. Now, what I was meaning by back to where my point was, so I write really intense stuff, all that stuff, but then I have to break it up with comedy. And even though I have comedy stuff, I probably won't touch for quite a long time. But within that concept, now there's different types of comedy. There's stuff like she's talking about, which are very dialogue based. And then there's also physical comedy, which is, the Jerry Lewis and all that, and Don Knotts and all those guys that are like literally, they have funny dialogue. There is funny dialogue, but it's usually punctuated with physical comedy. You know what I mean? So I kind of mix those bags in the middle of my features just to kind of break up the darkness and intensity of my rated R style writing. But comedy does require way more skill. It requires a fluency with dialogue writing. And I don't know because
and the body language. Yeah.
Well, and I don't know because I am me. So dialogue writing has always been one of my biggest strengths, along with storytelling. But from the other people I've talked to, that seems to be the one thing that most writers have the largest issue with or the biggest challenge with is dialogue. So
Right.
a lot of props to Laura with her series, because what have you done, like a million and 2 episodes or what?
Feels like it, yeah. Well, we did 100 straight episodes this last bit. We did 100 days in a row and 100 episodes. So it was pretty intense.
And these are each, what, about 8, 9, 10 minutes?
No, they're about 2 minutes.
Oh, are they?
Mhm.
I've seen so many of them, it's hard to like correlate between.
Well, this particular series, we call them the Quarantined Apart series. Those were about 2 minutes, sometimes a little longer, but we tried to keep them short, get to the point, get to the line, whatever the buildup was from it, or we'd like to set it up for what's coming next. So we would do a series, like 3 episodes would all join into the same theme. So this is that thread, this is that thread. So that's what we did for that. But earlier episodes, we've done probably 5 seasons worth of episodes.
Well, and you've mostly kept it PG, which is like I would have difficulty doing.
Well, they do say the F word a lot, but I guess,
Yeah, but most of my humor tends to be very rated R, raunchy oriented. I mean, but I grew up on Animal House and and Caddyshack and all those type films as far as comedy went, Quickies and So I don't even know if you can make films like that anymore.
You wonder, yeah.
But I don't have an issue. You still need to make raunchy comedy films that 13-year-old boys can go sneak into and watch. I mean,
There's a form, I think the difference is, well, you see something like Bridesmaids that was done. That was a raunchy comedy with practically an all-female cast, and they pulled it off splendidly. And then Girls Trip, with Tiffany Haddish, how they were able to pull that off. I mean, that's some raunchy.
Although I think it's easier when you're telling that story from a female focus. I think it's easier in today's world, to get away with that kind of humor when it's all women rolling the humor.
Yeah, you might be right about that.
Yeah, I think a guy is trying to roll the male version of that right now. It's a little bit harder. So, like the Van Wilders and the stuff along those lines. Although Van Wilder, I guess, is a newer one. But I'm getting so old that Van Wilder is like, holy crap. When I think of stuff, I realize my age when I'm making all these analogous humor picture points, and everyone's around me is looking at me like they have no idea what I'm talking about, because I'm utilizing films and TVs from like, the 90s. Like 70s and early 80s, or even further back, because when we grew up, there was 7 channels. So most of what you watched was literally stuff before you were born. So I grew up watching a ton of things that came out way before I was born, Errol Flynn and Humphrey Bogarts and Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. And there seems to be a lot of kids nowadays where they don't watch anything if it isn't current to their, around when they've been around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you need to reference the old stuff, because, stuff that they had to get around, like when they had to write and shoot around the code, and everything had to be like innuendos, and it was much clever, right? You couldn't say what they meant. You had to infer it. So in some ways, that stuff is much more challenging.
Well, way back when, the writing and acting, because they didn't have all the special effects and the CGIs and the technology and all that stuff, there was a lot of skilled writing and skilled acting, because the acting and writing had to pretty much sell almost everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, the old Errol Flynn. One of the best horror films I've ever seen is The Raven, with Vincent Price and Bela Lugosi and Peter Lorre, and which were like the kings of horror at the time. I think it was like late 60s or something like that. And I think that was the last film Bela Lugosi actually did. And there was a giant wizard fight between him and Vincent Price at the end. It was like, it'll probably be funny now if you watched it, but back then it was amazing, the special effects. But let's get back to Anam. What is a current project that you are doing or involved in that you're excited about? Anam. So we're on current
Yeah,
project.
yeah. So the series I was talking about, yeah, so the one project I'm still doing is that the comedy thing. I think I showed you the link also. I think I sent
That's an
Mark that
ongoing
link.
thing.
So I'm doing that. So, and sorry?
I think that was just noise from a mic.
Yeah.
That's
Sorry,
someone's
continue.
noise from a computer. I don't know where that's coming from. No, continue. So the comedy thing has been ongoing. You're kind of, it's a kind of a repeating thing you're doing.
It's kind of on since 2 years. And as far as some dramatic and a serious thing, I'm not currently doing anything right now, but I have something coming up in October. So it's gonna be a serious soap opera kind of thing. So yeah, so I'm
Hey, there's a
excited
lot of
about
us
that.
not
I
doing
don't
that.
know about the script yet.
You're not the only one.
Mhm.
There's a lot of people not doing anything right now, or just now beginning to start getting back into it. I don't know who's getting computer feedback. One of us is getting computer feedback. I'm not sure. It's probably Mark. Mark, are you playing with your lightsabers over there again? Are you creating like lightsaber noises back there?
Yeah, I'm doing some video editing.
Yeah, I remember the last time you did that, you broke a lamp and
Your
your woman
video
cut you
editing.
in half.
Mark is kind of multitasker, video editing and breaking stuff and blah blah blah.
Now, all he's doing is watching YouTube videos of himself just putting a lightsaber around it. That's all he's doing.
Good lightsaber.
No, that's awesome. So right now, you're the only thing currently you're doing is you're working on a is it a web series, the comedy thing?
No, it's for TV. It's for TV.
So, but it's
So it's a
something
good project, and
periodically go back to. It's episodical though. I'm assuming. Is it episodical? Episodes, multiple episodes.
yeah. So yeah, every week it's a different episode, and there's different guests in it. Just like comedy thing, people comes and go in it. But they're like 4 people that permanent. That's me, the other guy, and a girl, and this woman. So we're 4 people, the permanent in it, and the rest of the other people keeps coming and going. Just like that. It's
It's so
30
interesting watching your
minutes.
video right now because I feel like I'm in Nolan's Inception or Tenet, and there's like a you're moving, but your words are like delayed by about 4 seconds. So it's your video is delayed by about 4 seconds after your words. So it's interesting, man. Since I just watched
Oh my God.
Nolan's Tenet and his love of trying to make Inception Part 2, although that was like a horrible. Actually, Tenet was really bad. I cut it. I turned it off about halfway through, but that was interesting. So you're getting a little bit of a delay, but it was kind of a cool effect watching you. Your video wasn't talking, but you were. So,
Can you still hear me?
So it's kind of like a skit comedy, like they're doing sketches.
No, it's totally scripted. So
it is scripted.
It's just like a soap opera. It's totally scripted. Yeah. So we get the scripts and then we rehearse it, and then on the set, and then we give it a shot. So yeah.
Oh, look at Laura. Is that your cat back there?
Yeah, that's. I have 2. That's Preston. He decided he's going to make a cameo. So.
Well, he wasn't even moving forever. I thought it was a stuffed toy, and then they finally started licking itself, and I'm like, oh, that's alive.
Yeah. Character, all right.
Okay, so Laura, what is something you're currently working on?
Well, I've actually written Agnes and Estelle as a 30-minute pilot. So that is something that I was developing. And then I've actually written a couple Christmas scripts that I've been kind of pushing a little bit, and I've been doing that. And we were talking earlier, JD, about, the first feature, things like that. So I have this thriller set in pretty much one location, couple exteriors, but mostly one location. So that's something that I've been working on and trying to get financing for. And that one is
Have you
basically.
talked to Dell?
No, I haven't talked to him about this particular one. No.
You should, or Harold, one or the other.
Yeah. Yeah. So that one I've been working on, and that's something that I've been kind of developing and pitching a bit as well, because it would be something, the cabin in the woods sort of story, but with a few twists on it, you know. So that one would build to have a lot of twists and turns, a lot of surprises.
Hey, if you ever want to see a master class in shooting an entire feature in one setting, and it's why Scorsese, I think, produced it. He didn't do it, but he looked at the script probably and said, wow, all this in one location, great writing, is Free Fire.
Free Fire. Okay. I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, Scorsese produced it. I don't know who wrote it, but it was a bunch of really good actors, and it's all about 70s Boston in a warehouse, a gun deal gone bad.
Okay. Oh, you know what? Is that the one that had that chick, what was her name? Oh shoot. Brie Larson. Is that she's in that, I think? Is that the one?
Maybe I haven't seen it for a few years, and when I saw it, it was before I even knew who that was.
Yeah.
But I think she might be in it, yeah. And it was great acting, and it's literally them shooting at each other in a warehouse, periodically stopping because someone shot or whatever, and going, you know, like all this witty dialogue going back and forth, like, dude, are you dead? No, I'm not dead. You know, like in 2 hours of this vernacular going back and forth. It's like a 2-hour long gunfight. It like never ends. Because they keep winging each other and not like killing each other. So and then they just throw dialogue back and forth with each other. And you can, even though he didn't write it, it had total Scorsese type flavor to it. And you had all these Bostonian accents and 70s look.
Mm-hmm.
I think the only thing not shot in the warehouse, it looks like it was shot in an alley right next to the warehouse. So, you know, it's probably a good thing to watch if you're just trying to do a single location thing. But the only way that really works is the dialogue. The dialogue's got to be there, and
Right.
you know, and I never. I mentioned this earlier, and when you are who you are, and that's just the way it is. You don't realize what is norm for everyone else. You know what I mean? Because I think because of my background in poetics and lyrics, dialogue was one of the easiest things that came to me. And but then now, as I've gotten older and I've met and talked to far more film writers, because obviously I've been doing it for 30 years, so I've known a lot of writers, but those way back when it was more musicians or lyricists or poets or whatever. That seems to be a big challenge for a lot of writers, dialogue.
Yeah, you have to kind of, because sometimes it can come out clunky, and you know, it's not like people talk like that. I mean, they don't. So I think you have to have an ear. I mean, I'm always eavesdropping on people, so you know.
It is similar to dialogue writing, probably in novels.
Right.
Like when novel writers have a lot of issues with dialogues because they write it in a way that's not natural.
Right. Right.
But even I have to do that when I eventually cast something or we're going to go shoot something. I have to sit with the actors and listen to them say the dialogue and have to tweak stuff. Yeah. Because even if you write it in a way that someone could say it that way, there's a thing about actors that certain words they just can't say naturally, depending on the actor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like each actor has their own diction, and there are certain words that every person has a hard time, and they're different for every person, saying naturally. You know, that word for some reason just doesn't flow off their tongue in a natural way, and then you have to end up changing as the writer. You have to change it to fits their tongue, I guess would be a way of saying.
So one question from both of you.
Go ahead, Anam.
So one question from both of you. Do you like allow actors over there to modify the dialogues or
this
script?
Is what I always say. I always say, if you're gonna do that, you better write better than I do. So if you do it and it sounds great, that's great. Well, I don't have an ego in that realm that like I wouldn't allow it if it sounded good. But I've had issues with actors that think they're great writers and they're not, and they keep changing my words, and then I'm like, bro, just go back to what I wrote because that's not good.
Well, on the stage, I don't, because you have to stay with the dialogue on the stage. But in film, and also in film too, you have to be kind of careful, because if you're doing take after take and the dialogue changes from take to take, editing is going to be a pain in the ass, you know? So, but sometimes they'll say, well, can I do this? I'm always open to that. I'm always open.
Yeah, I'm always willing to listen if they're saying it. I just always say that if you're going to do it, then it better be good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if they say, well, can I say X instead of Y? Well, let's try it. And then if it works better, then heck yeah. If it doesn't, say, well, that's good, but let's go back to how we were, you know. But I'm always open.
And there's things that you come up with on set.
Exactly.
I remember that first thing I did, Divide Between Love and Breath. There was a scene towards the end where he goes to the window, and I had no dialogue there. And the lighting on him and the shot on him looked so good with all the noir and the shadow and him, and something was going on outside, so it was flashing lights up from the street. And I think I added a line there of like, the devil's out tonight or something like that. You know what I mean? It wasn't in the script, but I mean, as a writer and a director, you have to be able to do that too. Sometimes things will, whether it be changing stuff you already wrote or adding stuff, sometimes in the moment things will change. This is why I'm not the biggest fan of trying to be too anal about a shot list before you get to set, because by the time you get to set, a lot of that shit's going to be thrown right out the window, based on location, based on the way actors are moving, based on a lot of extracurricular things. The way you have to set up a light is how you envision it doesn't work unless you put the light over here. And if you put the light over there, then now you're in a small room. Your actor can't move where you wanted them to move originally in the script. So you know what I mean? All of filmmaking is plan as much as possible, but be ready to go from the hip on everything. Because film in reality is very chaotic.
Yeah, I'm always of the school, like, get the ones you absolutely need. Like, you know, I need these 5 shots to make this cut together, make it work. And then be open to, like JD says, to surprises and to things that just happen. It's like, wow, this is really cool. Much better than I ever envisioned it, you know? How do you, Anam, how do you like to work? I mean, do you like to stick strictly to the script? Or are you much more of an improvisational actor?
Well, I do not mind sticking to the script because it's like easier for some artists. But if I feel like that I should add something, then I always ask my director. I what?
I said she is a lover of TikTok.
I'm on TikTok, if that is what you're asking.
No, well, TikTok is improv.
Yeah, so basically, I always ask it's improv, but I always ask my director that should I change this dialogue if he allows or if she allows, and if he or she gives me go ahead, then I always do that. But I'm okay with the script. Whatever is the script is, I suppose, is the final word, because someone has put his heart and mind to write that piece. And if I change that, it's kind of offending that I'm changing somebody's writing. So I try to stick to that script.
I worked background for 2 days on an Apatow film, the sequel to Knocked Up. I forget it was 40 something or whatever I think it was called. Apatow, you know who Apatow is, right? He's the one that did Knocked Up and several of those type films with Seth Rogen and all that stuff. And that guy doesn't write a script at all, man. He literally, and he doesn't write it really. He has a platoon of writers. And all they do is they have jokes, like the theme of the joke of the scene. And then literally wants all his actors to improv. And put it this way, the first day I worked was one scene and we shot it for 12 hours.
What?
Because he shot it over and over and over and over again, throwing out different lines every time. And all they had was like the punchline that needed to happen. But then they basically just had the 4 actors in it just improv differently every single take until they got something they thought was funny, or until they got several things that they thought were funny, and then wait until they get in post to figure out which one was actually funny. And I almost about shot myself in the head and wanted to like, I was just like, because it's so opposite of me. I like taking 2 or 3 takes, moving on to the next thing, moving on to the, you know what I mean? Like, and it was just like, oh my God, like, how does this guy get money? Like, almost anybody could do that if they just go, hey, I'm just going to do 40 takes of every single scene. Until I get something that sounds cool. Then I'm going to go do 40 takes of the next scene. And I'm like, you know, anybody throws that much shit at the wall is eventually going to find something.
I don't remember giving 40 takes to a director. I don't remember giving 40 takes to a director.
Oh, you would remember.
I normally give like 2 or 1 take, and even some directors are.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, seriously, I was there for 2 days, and then I was supposed to come back a third, and I told and I was doing background. That's what I did for a living in LA. And then on the 3rd day, they wanted me to come back again, and I said, no mas. I said, I can't work that again, because each day was one scene, and each day was like 12, 13 hours long. I'm like shooting one scene, man. I'm just like, dude, like I cannot, which is why Apatow is very hit or miss. He has done really well with films where his actors are actually writers or comedy writers. Like Rogan is a comedy writer. That is what he does. So when he has had actors who are actually writers, his films have done well. When he has films with actors that are not improv actors and writers, then his films have struggled because he relies. That's how, I mean, at least when I was there, I was talking to crew and talking to people that worked with him. And I was like, dude, is this how he always does it, man? And they're like, yeah, this is how he always does it. And I'm like, oh my God, dude. I would like, as an actor, I would not want to ever work for this guy. It'd be like Fincher, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, in different ways. Fincher is definitely scripted, but Fincher believes like shooting each thing 20 times, and only when you get the actor really tired are you going to get good stuff. But neither one of those people has. I mean, granted, my acting is not really my thing, but if I was an actor, I'd be like, they'd be like, where do you go? And there'd be like a pool of blood coming out of my trailer because I'd fucking
Yeah. So some actors here in my country, like most directors here in my country, they take a lot of shot of one scene. Like, for example, they're taking single shot, they're taking 2 shot, and they're taking different shot from here, from there. Yeah, that's TV. But some actors get annoyed. Some actors get annoyed, and they're like, "Why he's taking so many shots when he has like 3 shots to just put? Why he's taking 5 shots?"
It's because TV's run by accountants that like go. They don't look at people as people or as an art. They go, here's a schematic of how it works, and then give me every single angle so I can sit here and editing like a puzzle and put it all together. And then,
yeah, I understand, but some actors go crazy. Yeah, some actors go crazy, and they're like, why he or she is taking so many shots and of an entire scene. So yeah, I can imagine when you talk about the director who actually takes 40 things. 40 scenes, yeah, 40 count. So I could relate to that.
First name, John. I forget his first name. Apatow. What was I going to say? You know, but there's ways around. Okay, so like usually on TV, where there's a different director every other episode, usually DPs and the showrunners are the ones with all the power, and the director is really usually just working with the actors. And every once in a while we'll come up with a shot, but that's not really, they don't really have the pull that a director does on a feature film set, you know, usually, unless the person directing is one of the showrunners or producers, which happens. but I remember what's the guy that did Animal House? We were talking about Animal House earlier.
John Landis.
Landis, yeah, okay. So Landis is on the. I think I told this story before. Landis is kind of on the tail end of his career, and so he's occasionally doing guest directing on TV shows. And he did this on the one with it was a lawyer show that lasted about 4 seasons, I think. It had the guy from McDowell, and it had the lead was the guy from Saved by the Bell, the main guy from Saved by the Bell. I forget his name. But they had Landis shoot it, and I remember 3 weeks later, the producers were still all upset about him, upset with him because he shot it so you could only edit it one way. He ignored all the list of shots that they wanted and shot it the exact way he wanted it edited. And the crew loved him because he was doing like 9-10 hour days, and everyone got out. But I remember 3 weeks later coming back and working on a different episode, and people were still bitching about Landis saying that he would never direct the episode again because he literally gave no room. He didn't do what you're talking about, which is what TV wants them to do: shoot it from like 100 different angles and have all these different shots. And he shot it exactly how he wanted it edited, which is
Right.
I thought that was hilarious. I was like, go Landis. But anyway, okay, so let's get back to this. All right, so we'll start with Laura this time. What is a future project in the next 2 years? Now, I'm assuming it might be your feature, but what is a project in the next 2 years you want to do that you're passionate about?
Well, I would love to have Agnes and Estelle developed as a half-hour comedy series for streaming.
I'm assuming you would shoot it differently.
Oh yeah, yeah. I would have a bigger cast.
Well, I mean, you wouldn't have the style. You wouldn't have the Zoom call look.
Oh no, that's just for this particular time in our lives during COVID. You know, that was done because that's the way I could do it. Really, you know. No, it would be done like a Modern Family type single camera. You know, something like that. And so that I'd be very passionate about, as well as the feature thriller called Lying Games. So it would be something I'd love to be able to do. And that's, you know, what I'm moving toward.
Very cool. Well, I mean, you've always had the determination and the heart and spirit. So, I mean, just keep stepping and you'll get there.
Yeah, same Breck at you, bro.
Yeah, although I'm almost about to change my name. I think Glasscock is what's been holding me back, man. I literally, if my name was J.D. Henderson or something like that, then I don't think I'd have the challenges I do, man. I'm telling you.
They probably think that you changed your name to Glasscock to be funny.
Yeah, well, it's memorable, JD, if you think about it. I know you have to justify. No, I'm not trying to be an asshole. That's really my name.
I'm kidding. I've had that name my whole life. So literally, but I do get tired. I think I posted something the other day. I had to go to a doctor's appointment, and I've had this all my life, and it gets so. You think since I've had it all my life, I would be used to it, but I still get annoyed by it. Where I went into the doctor's office, they said, "What's your name?" I gave him my name. He had me repeat it 4 times. I spelled it twice, and he still kept acting like he didn't hear me right. And he ended up writing down Glasgow. I'm like, motherfucker, I said glass and I said cock. Grow a pair and be able to say cock, okay? Like, holy hell, this is like a 22-year-old like little male nurse secretary. And I'm like, bro, like literally, you're like 22, 23 years old. You can't say cock? Like, seriously.
I mean, I'm sure he's seen him.
I mean, like literally, dude, I said it 4 times. And how can you mispronounce when I'm saying glass cock? And I said it and I'm 3 feet from him. And I spelled it twice, and he's still going, Glasgow. I'm like, and then I literally went off on it. I'm like, it's not Glasgow, dude. It's Glasscock. Like, literally. And then they were looking at me like I was the biggest a-hole in the world because I'm like, I got to the point where I was literally yelling at the guy. Because I'm like, oh, my God. Like, seriously. I'm 49 years old. If I have to listen to one of you people one more time, act like you didn't hear me correctly. Like, seriously. Like I should just change it to Hitchcock. Hitchcock is fine, right? It's just the glass and the cock together part difficulty, or what? Because it's a sex toy. Is that what the fucking issue is, or what? But anyway, okay, so we'll get past the comedy routine on the name Glasscock. So what is the thing that it seems like maybe Agnes and Estelle is the thing that you're going to probably be focusing more on out of the gate? That seems like a probably easier pitch.
Well, I got into the semifinals of the Big Break contest, so it got some really good, I guess, response. And it is sort of a niche market as well. Grace and Frankie is done, Modern Family's done. So, I mean, it could step up into that.
Well, but you could at least shoot the half-hour pilot.
You could, yeah.
Probably easier than you could the thriller feature.
Well, the
only thing is the feature immediately would most likely produce money from it, where a half-hour pilot, you're kind of just going to sit on it unless you can sell it.
Yeah, the pilot would be a little bit more difficult because there's a bunch of locations. There's probably a good dozen locations, maybe 10.
Ooh,
plus
that's tough.
Yes, because you're introducing the main people in the series, whereas in the thriller,
or a dozen locations. There's not even a dozen locations in Blade and Blood.
we got the interior and exterior, right? And then you got
but that's a lot of locations for a half-hour sitcom.
Maybe it doesn't as much. Well,
I would maybe possibly look at that as a like episode 2, and then maybe episode 1 you could focus a little more on.
Yeah, it could. I mean, it's
so like a pro, or you could say it's episode 1, but then do a prelogue.
Yeah. Well, it's basically because you have to introduce the main people that you're going to be seeing. So even though those two are the main focus, it's an ensemble. Ensemble.
I hear you. Maybe not try to introduce the entire ensemble.
No, I don't. I introduced probably 8 characters in the pilot. So.
Yeah. This is the biggest, and I had to learn this lesson literally like the first few, and I was such an arrogant little cuss back then. So the first few features I wrote, I literally had to learn this lesson. So I just wrote with no budget in mind, no nothing in mind, except me wanting to create these fantastic, amazing worlds of fantasy and all that stuff. And literally, first probably 3 scripts, you couldn't shoot for less than 50 million or 40 million or something like that. And then I was like, and I had to realize that, and this is the problem with, then what happened was I started shooting my own films. And then I realized very quickly that every single thing you write in a script costs money.
Mm-hmm.
And every single thing you write, you got to start paying attention to what you're writing, because every single thing you put in that script costs money. And then you got to start looking at your writing. I don't mean like don't be creative and when you're writing, write in the flow. But when you're done, you got to go into it. I think you got to go into it going, this is the budget I'm going to have for this. And then to keep yourself dialed in on when you're writing to stay with it. You know what I mean? Like, and that was why I wrote Blade and Blood. But I think it's a great lesson. And it's one of the largest complaints I hear from producers and directors who aren't writers, who are looking for scripts, from people that are mostly script writers and not directors, is that script writers do not pay attention to that stuff at all. Like, and that's what happens with a lot of these indie writers that all of a sudden want to try their hand at directing and then end up making a really bad B film because they wrote a script where they wanted cars blowing up and people dying everywhere, people gun shooting, and yet they had 20 grand to shoot it.
Right. Well, that's kind of why for this feature, I wanted to limit it, because for the pilot, the hope is that it gets picked up by a streaming network or something of that nature that could afford, to do that rather than doing it as an indie project on my own. I've done a lot of the web series, so I have my IP there, So you can use that as reference to see.
Well, when you have enough episodes, you could tie them together. You could put them in a package.
True. But yeah,
Like, I mean, you could probably take the first 30 episodes and put it as a 45-minute, you know, here's what I'm trying to do.
right,
It's
exactly.
thematic.
Yeah, I could do that. And that's why purposely for the feature, it's three characters, so 3 characters, 1 location, but then there's some exterior.
The
Wow.
only
So
thing I can imagine that's in that realm, I don't know if it would really be considered a thriller. And I think in the beginning and the end, there's a few more characters, but probably Misery,
yeah,
where most of that movie was just literally those
right.
2 actors.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Yeah. And you can keep people on the edge of their seat. There was that one, oh, what's that guy's name? Oh gosh, I'm blanking on his name, but he was in a car. He's a British actor, fantastic, very handsome as well. And he was in a car, and the whole movie was him driving and then taking these phone calls. And you learn all about his life. And Tom, oh shoot, he was, oh God, he's been in a million things. He was that guy in those Batman movies.
Tom Middleton?
Michael Keaton.
Pardon?
Michael Keaton.
No.
She said English, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
Keaton in English.
He had that. He had that thing when he had.
That's the guy that plays Loki.
Yeah, that's him. But the guy that.
Is that him? Thomas Middleton.
No, not him. But the guy that was in the Batman movies, but he was Viper, I think, or what the hell was his name? But he had that black mask on his face, so you couldn't even see his face.
Bane? The one that played Bane?
Thank you, Bane. Yes, that actor.
Oh,
So
I don't even know who that is because he's
oh, good to say it.
But hey, let's get to Anam real quick. So Anam, what is a project in the near future that you were focused on, that you want to do, that you're excited about?
First I'll talk about the kind of role I always wanted to do, but I couldn't get the chance to perform such a role. I always wanted to do a action character, a police women kind of character, or a spy character, something like that role. An action film.
Well, I mean, have you? Nowadays they like, and I'm with them. A lot of directors, if they're doing action films, want their actors to be able to do at least some of the stunts, because then you actually could get good shots of their face during the stunts, as opposed to when you use stunt people, you have to like shoot wide and further back and try to hide that it's not the actor. You know what I mean? Are you?
Yeah. I
you
understand.
have to be able to do stunts. Have you done any kind of stunts?
I haven't done any stunts, but I can do dance, and I do some kind of, because I'm a kind of person who is more into physical activities like running, jumping around. And
well, what I would do, is, I'm sure they have it there, is Google a local stunt group, and usually those stunt groups give classes, and you can get a certificate of completing a class.
Right.
So even if you're not a stunt person, if you can put that on your resume, like almost every stunt group I know does that. They do classes where they teach you like basic falls and basic like stuff, and they give you a certificate at the end of it that you can then put on your resume. And I think, especially in today's world, as a younger actor, I think that's a good thing to have.
Yeah.
Especially with the advent and popularity of Marvel films, and almost most of what's coming out nowadays is some kind of action something. You know what I mean? So it's a good thing. Just Google, or ask Saeed might have it. Google your local area for what your maybe more known stunt groups are, and I guarantee you one of them teaches classes, or you can has a class you can take and get a little certificate from. Now, granted, with Blade and Blood, I'm going to do that with Blade and Blood, but I'm cheating in the benefit of my actors by I'm shooting it very 300 Spartacus Blood and Sand. I'm shooting it like third speed. You know what I mean? And doing that slow-mo look. But what that allows me to do is I shoot it in slow-mo, so I only need my actor to move at 1/3 speed. You know what I mean? So like the fight sequences, they can be doing this, and that's how fast they'll actually be moving, because I'm shooting it like that. You know what I mean? Which makes it easier to use my actors to do their own stunts. But it's always good to, again, this goes back to what me and Laura were talking about a second ago, as a writer or director, as an actor, to understand what goes into the actual making of those type of films. You know what I mean? Even as an actor, if you want to be an action star, knowing what directors are looking for and what they need out of you to utilize that. If you're a writer and director, knowing if I want a car to blow up, if I want people to get shot, or anything I put in a script, I got to understand all of what that encompasses as far as the totalitarian aspect of shooting that. You know what I mean? So
Right.
like Laura was telling me at one point, she was going to make like a human pyramid of 80 people. And I said, Laura, are you sure? That's going to be difficult. Getting 80 people to stack on top of each other. Are these small people? Are these little kids? Or what are they? You know what I mean? Like the possibility of the people at the top falling is an insurance nightmare, man. Oh, I love my Laura. Anyway, okay, you guys, we're going to take a 5-minute break. Because Lola is giving me the evil eye of death.
Right.
And she's going to go pee. So we're going to take a 5-minute break. Go get a drink of water. Don't disconnect. Stay connected. And for all of you out there, come here, Lola. Lola.
Hey.
Come here. All right. So for you people out there, you've been watching Stormcrow, Dreamers Talking to Dreamers. We're going to be back in 5. Can you say 5, Lola? Say 5. All right. I'll see you guys in 5.
Right.
Right.
All right. Mark, get your visuals back up, brother.
Hi. I'm not.
Mark,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes. Mark. Yeah, I knew I would rue the day when I said during the break you go like this. Every time, Mark, every time I said you could go play with your lightsaber during the break, you're always late, isn't that? And I'm not even going to touch on the part of that that's like a phallic symbolization, you know what I mean? But,
Oh, that's terrible.
Anyway, oh, by the way, Anam, what did you end up watching? Because I think I just gave you the link to my YouTube. I didn't give you a link to a specific film.
You gave me the link of your work profile or something.
My YouTube profile.
Yeah, YouTube something.
But I
Show
have like
kind of read.
13 films on there. So which one did you watch?
Yeah, I watched that. I watched that.
Well, the first one up is probably Lonely in the Shadows. Is that the one you watched?
Sorry?
It's not important. Anyway, what I'm going to say, are we ready? Are you, Mark, you putting us back up?
Yeah, we're up.
Okay. Hosting a watch party. Want to make sure it's still live. All right. Welcome back, guys. We are here at The Price is Right. Where our next contestant is coming down, where you will bid on wonderful prizes.
JD, tell them what they'll
first
win.
Prize up is a dance with our lovely lightsaber savant in his yellow summer dress, Mark Potter. What would you bid?
Tree Fitty.
Stop. $1. Anyway, What was I gonna say? Sorry. Okay. What was that one show where people would come on? Remember that game show where it was everyone came and the whole audience was in costume?
Let's Make a Deal.
Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I think my mom went to that once when I was like a little kid. And they did it like Price is Right, where they would pull people out of the audience to be the contestants or whatever.
Yeah.
But she told me that they would choose you as you were in line coming in.
Oh, okay.
So they would nod at certain people or whatever, and it was weird. But you know, I did a couple when I was in LA. I did a couple like shows, kind of like that, and those things are so rigged, it's ridiculous. Like I was do you know that Jerry Springer won Baggage?
Mm-mm.
So when his show went bye-bye, he went on the Game Show Network and did one called Baggage, where it was kind of like the dating show, where you would have 3 people to choose from, and then you know he would talk to you, and then each person had some kind of baggage, like whether mental issues or whatever the hell it is, they're drug addicts, whatever. And so I was the one that actually chose, and they literally were like stopping me in the middle of taping, going, "Hey, can we have our writers make up stuff about you?" And I'm like, no, I'm myself on this, dude. like I'm not playing a role, man. I'm literally as me on this. No, you're not gonna. And then at one point they stopped the whole taping. We were about halfway through to decide whether they wanted to replace me because I wasn't playing ball.
That'd be crazier, JD.
Huh?
That'd be crazier.
Yeah, I don't know, man. But you know me, I don't really play ball. I don't really. JD dances to his own drummer, man. I don't like people telling me what I should be doing. Unfortunately, it's gotten me in a lot of trouble in life. But I wish I was more politically skilled. That would be a good asset to have, especially in film industry. But it's also the reason why I have such wondrous friends, man, is that same idiosyncrasy. So let's get on. I'll let Mark tackle a subject. What is a subject going on in the world right now you would like us to talk about, and nothing too political, please?
Oh, you asked me?
No, I was asking Mark, but he's looking like he's drawing a blank.
Um,
I think he gets in when he's floating above the planet like that. I think he gets too meditative.
Honestly, has to do with film. What are we gonna do? I know there's there's SAG, not implications, but
Well, a lot of films are going out of country because they don't want to deal with SAG right now, or unions or whatever, because literally they cannot figure out up from down on how they want to actually, like, the rules they're coming up with for COVID seem to be changing every other week. So, and then a lot of the rules, a lot of lower budget stuff wouldn't be able to afford to do. And so there's a lot of backlash right now towards the unions that they're using COVID as an excuse to kind of.
But then I guess I don't want to speak for you, Mark, but maybe the safety of the sets in this time, like how do you ensure that, when they just found out that, Rock and his whole family tested positive and a few
And then
other.
soon today, they tried to start reshooting the new Batman, and what's his name?
Robert Pattinson.
Yeah. Although I'm not the biggest fan. Right when they went on break, because that guy's getting paid a lot of money to do that role. And on top of that, when they're in the lead role like that in those DC films, just like Marvel, they get a kickback on merchandising and all that stuff. So it ends up being a crap ton of money they're getting for doing that role. And they asked him to stay in shape during the break for that role. And he told them no. that he didn't want to work out or he didn't want to lift weights or exercise or do any of that stuff, man.
Batman comes back from the break with
And he
his
actually
belly.
gave crap to what's her name? It's the one playing Catwoman in that film. I think it's Kravitz's daughter, right? Zoe. I forget her name, man, because she was doing it. She was like doing this heavy exercise regime during the break to stay in shape. And after making the statements he did about not wanting to do that, he said he just basically didn't want to do it. He wanted to, if he wasn't working, he wanted to relax, eat what he wanted, do what he wanted. And then he actually gave her crap and said she was making him look bad. And I was like, wow, how, all in one article, man. I'm like, how entitled can you make yourself look in one article? You should teach a class, Mr. Pattinson, on how entitled and self-absorbed you can appear in one article. Because when I read
That happened with you.
well, when I read the
Sorry.
clip, I thought maybe they were misquoting or they were like taking it out of context or whatever. So I read the whole interview, and no, literally, he said all of that. I was like, dude, how lazy, self-entitled, and all that. You know how many actors would kill to have the lead role as Batman in a $150 million film? I mean, like, and you're telling them you don't feel like working out?
So JD, I was saying, it happened with me once when I signed this project 2 years back, Do Bol with ARY. So I was 10 kilos more than what I'm right now. So when I signed this, I was fat, obviously, and not that fat. I was chubby. So the project prolonged to like 8-9 months. So after 4 months, I was like this, like shrunk completely because I was working out and taking care of my diet and stuff. So in initial episodes, I was kind of chubby, and in later episodes, I was completely transformed. So my director told me that people will think we have cast a different girl. So things like that.
Because you started shooting that stuff before and then had to take a break and then
yeah, so I had like 1.5 months break, and then the project prolonged for like 8-9 months. So obviously 8-9 months is a time period. It's a half a year, more than a year. So yeah, I kind of lost weight, and I was completely different on the screen. I'm like, yeah, at least I lost weight. So anyway,
it's the difficulty. I mean, when you're trying to shoot it like that, where you're taking breaks to shoot it.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you would deal with that as it's the same thing like COVID is like, you know, with Blade and Blood, we're going to do our best. We're going to have testing. Then we're going to do our best to isolate the crew and cast while we're there. I told them we wanted to do it in a way where at least the cast and crew could socialize with each other after hours, like whether it be we get a hotel to ourselves or we get Airbnb that's all right next to each other.
Yeah,
you have to allow people an outlet, man. You can't just shove them in a not when you're going through the stresses of shooting a film and you're working 12-hour days every day. You have to allow them crew and all them to outlet, whether it be a few drinks or whatever it is, and socialize. So we're gonna try to keep it within each other, and then we'll have one PA whose whole job is to go get people things that they need. Hitting the store and all that kind of stuff. And all you can do is the best you can do. I mean, like, it's not going to be perfect. I mean, that's just the way. We'll have testing. We'll make people wear masks. Actors will have to wear masks until we're ready to shoot. All those kind of things. I'm not going to change my writing style. At first, people were like, "Oh, you're not going to be able to write any more romantic scenes. You're not going to be able to write any more action scenes where people are actually having to fight each other." I'm like, wait, dude, I'm not going to change what I'm writing, man. I mean, like, those two aspects are the two main things in most films, man. Romance between two characters and action. They require interaction.
Well, right, but I mean,
I'm
if
not
they
gonna change those things, this is why when we were referencing earlier is a lot of people are not wanting to deal with unions right now because those are some of the ideas that unions were trying to float. And it was just like, literally, man, that's.
But right, but I mean, if we had something, if we had something, if we had to deal with that, where you couldn't write about romance, you couldn't write about action and violence, you know, what kind of films are you gonna have?
You're gonna have the King's Speech without the romance. You're gonna have you're gonna have Tolstoy on a, a lot of talkie, more talkie, more talk.
But people don't want to watch that.
I always thought that was funny because remember when King's Speech won the award? Actually, won Best Picture or whatever. No one had actually seen that. Like literally, it hadn't even made its money back yet in film subs. You know what I mean? It only made its money back after it won Best Picture, and then when people went and actually saw it because it didn't interest people when it came out. It was a character study, people standing around all talking at each other for 2 hours. It's the kind of stuff that the critics love and you win awards for, but it's not literally. And then it barely made its money back. That film really made no money.
Well, prestige, right? Because they look at it as, it's a prestigious subject, and it's directed by Tom Hooper, and it's got this kind of like cast that's really quite talented, but it is more of, like you said, just kind of stand around talking, but there are ones that are successful though. When we talked earlier about the ones like from the 40s and stuff that have to deal with the code and all that kind of stuff. This banter.
It is, but they usually have some more stuff going on.
Yeah.
I mean, even ones that are talky. Like I would say, several of Bogart's films were a lot of dialogue and not a lot of action. But there was a little bit of action, and then there was usually some kind of sizzling romance going on that created kinetic energy. So you can create kinetic energy in a lot of ways beyond just action.
Right.
But that kinetic energy needs to be there somehow. And, you can do it through like just the sheer sizzling chemistry between two actors in romantic situations. You can do that in a lot of ways, but you still need that kinetic energy, that movement going on.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just my opinion. Hey, for all of you out there, I'm very opinionated if you haven't figured that out. But I do understand that they are opinions. They are my opinions. And it's okay if you disagree with me, don't agree with me, think I'm a jackass. It's okay. It's all good. I still love you.
When are you going to start shooting?
When are we going to start? Oh, you were talking to Anam, right?
Well, I was talking to you first and then Anam. I'm sorry, I'm putting the accent on the wrong syllable.
Yeah. Sorry, come again?
I was just wondering when you guys are going to start shooting your projects.
No, we're still shooting in projects, but with precautions, wearing masks. I mean, me as an actor, I'm not obviously wearing a mask on the set, but the team members, they're wearing masks and taking precautions. And obviously, you can't avoid a close contact because, as JV said, the two things, I mean, people want to see, like action and romance. So in my case, romance and a close contact, obviously. But we're not doing it that much, not too close contact. And there's several ways to perform a romantic or action scene. So, yeah. Well, we kind of started shooting. We're not like most people are not shooting that much, but we have started shooting. And even in COVID, like I sat for home for about 1.5 months. And after that, because the channel wanted softwares and channel was short of software, and they were obviously losing on a slot. So we had to.
There's always risk, but there's whole films that have been shot in the last few months and they didn't have any COVID. And even The Rock, who I love, he even admitted that he got COVID because he likes having giant family parties of like 30, 40 people.
Right.
And he had literally, that was how he caught it. He literally had a giant family party and he's Samoan, so their families are pretty big. You know what I mean? And he had a party with like 30, 40 people, and that's how he caught it. And I would not be surprised if all of a sudden, if Pattinson has it, that he didn't do something stupid, like go to some Hollywood party or, you know what I mean? So it relies, all production can do everything in their power to make it safe.
Yeah.
But it still relies on people doing
people
their
go outside.
part.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, true.
Like when you're shooting a film, don't go have a giant family party with 40 people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's just not smart. And you're costing people a bunch of money. So the films where I think films are having no issues with the films where people are respecting everybody's time and isolating themselves and taking it serious.
Yeah, Tyler has a good model for that, but then he also has a huge studio, huge amount of land where everybody's in their bubble, right? So they're tested every 4 days. They live there, they work there, they stay there the whole time. And, you know,
well, that's what we're going to try to do. I don't know about the testing every 4 days, but we're going to try to test everyone maybe once every week and a half, and then isolate everybody while we're there. Now, mine is an ensemble cast as well. So besides the couple leads, most of them are going to be in there for maybe 3 scenes, 4 scenes, and then they're out. You know what I mean? And so, and then that's from a production side, you can do that as well. Is you're just trying to consolidate those actors' scenes together, even if that means you're going out of position. You're trying to go, okay, let's get this actor in and shoot their stuff, then get them out. Let's get this actor in and shoot their stuff, get them out. So, you know what I mean? As opposed to how you used to do it, where you would try to you would bring an actor in and then maybe a week later bring him in again for a different scene. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. How you going to do with kissing?
These lead actors, these big actors, it requires them to do their part as well. So, and for some of them, it seems to be difficult for them to not be still going and having giant social parties and going to like award stuff and going to like publicity stuff. And
that's true.
You know what I mean?
The production may do anything to save the actor, and if the actor is going here and there, and he or she is putting everybody's life on stake. Right. Yeah, I completely understand that. So, JD, did you like sorry, coming in.
No, go ahead.
So I was saying that did you guys like gather every artist at one place? Like they were isolating together?
No, I mean I haven't started.
The actors, or they were isolating.
But that is certainly what we're going to do. I think Laura has shot more recently, so you could probably ask her.
Yeah, no, we kept a lot of times separate so that we wouldn't have to worry about that kind of stuff as well.
But my question is, how are you going to deal with kissing?
They need to, if the script requires it, they need to kiss. But you got to understand, it's not. If there's a romantic scene and one of them has COVID, they're going to get COVID regardless of whether they're kissing or not. The kissing part doesn't accent more so. If they're that closely interacting, it's an airborne thing. So you know what I mean? It's not a saliva thing. The way it transmits is airborne. It's not saliva. You know what I mean? So if they're interacting with each other, even if they're not kissing, if they're touching and one of them has it, then there's a high likelihood the other one's going to have it. But I mean, you know, a lot of people are asymptomatic, so they get it and yet they don't ever get sick. You know, but there's also, unfortunately, a lot of people out there that don't even take this illness seriously. Literally. I'm in Texas. Literally, we are like the poster child for people that don't take it seriously.
Right.
We have all these Texans with a Texan attitude of don't tell me what to do. This is all crap. I'm going to do whatever the hell I want to do. I mean, literally, I had to go back from I work at a restaurant as my normal job to make money because there's no film industry here. So I'm only doing it 2 days a week because I don't want to deal with it. Literally, I go there and outside, we have bands occasionally. Outside, and I don't work outside specifically because of this, because I wear a mask the whole time. But I look outside, there's 30 drunk people all together, none of them with masks, all getting drunk, listening to bands. And this is current. This is like last weekend. And then I had a group I had to deal with that straight up told me, hey, can you take your mask off as you're dealing with us? We don't like it. And that disease is bullshit. And I said, that's not going to happen. This mask is not coming off. But that was the attitude. And that's like, there's like a crap ton of people with that attitude. It doesn't matter how many deaths happen. It doesn't matter how many people get sick. You could all have them line up in front of these people, and these people will still not change anything. You know, I don't get it.
Yeah, there are people who doesn't really care about it. They're like, we're fine. It's just a myth. This COVID is nothing, and they're not wearing masks. But here are a lot of people like that here also.
No, but part of that is also all the misinformation. Part of that is also from both sides, all the misinformation. What doesn't help the COVID case is when you have CDC telling them to put COVID on people that get die in car accidents. You know what I mean? And stuff like that. And the other side of like them saying, oh, it's only point, these wrong math numbers that are like not even accurate. And so you have it from both sides. It doesn't help when you have misinformation on both sides of the argument because it's become politicized. Yeah. And the reason is it's become politicized so that you have politicians from both sides spinning it to fit whatever their little agenda is. And it's like, and they don't look at this as real people. And I'm like, these are real people. These are not numbers on a little tally board of you. These are real people with real families, with real loved ones, real responsibilities in life. You know what I mean? Like, and if for some reason that doesn't seem to register with some people, usually because they have their own little personal agendas going on. And
true.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. It baffles me. I'm like, how hard is it to wear a mask, man? Literally. As soon as you're in your car, take it off. You're at home, take it off. But for the 5 minutes you're in a grocery store, why is that difficult?
I don't know either.
Yeah, so if any of you happen to go to Thailand, so in Thailand it's normal practice that when they're in traffic, when they're traveling in subways, when they're going offices, when they're on road, they're always wearing masks. Like last I went to Thailand was in 2017.
Part of that's pollution, isn't it?
Yeah,
the Chinese are like that too, but that's because there's so much pollutants in the air that they're like literally.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just not COVID. People wear masks for different reasons also. So they were wearing masks and all that. I'm like, why they're wearing masks? So now I can relate to that.
In China, people have been wearing masks for decades because literally it's some of the most polluted air in the entire world.
A billion people.
Regulations on factories and stuff like that as far as kicking really harmful crap up into the air. So a lot of people in like China and Eastern Asia have been wearing masks for decades because of that, because the air is so poor quality.
Yeah, so polluted, yes.
Yeah. I mean, they were having issues trying to have the Olympics there because other countries didn't want to go there because of the pollution.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I just don't get it. It shouldn't be a big issue. It's literally when I shoot my film, I'm going to be the director on set. I'm going to have a mask on the whole time unless I'm eating. But when we're eating, we'll have at least 6 to 8 feet between everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can still, I have a big voice. I can still have a conversation with someone 20 feet away, man. So, you know, or 6 feet away or 8 feet away or whatever it is. So, you know, I don't know, but we're gonna dial this in. I'm gonna dial it in this way. Laura, I want you to talk to all the young people starting out on what advice you would give people as a writer, director.
Well, I think that surround yourself with good people and help them, and then you can form yourself a little coalition. And I write all the time. So even if it's something I'll never do, I always want to be writing about something. I have a book that I keep. I don't have it by me here, but I'm always jotting down ideas. I'm always doing that kind of stuff, always learning. I think you have to be curious and not just sit back and I have one script. And I also encourage people to read. I mean, you have to read a shit ton of stuff, man. You got to read hundreds of script, not 2 scripts, not 3 scripts, and go back to the classics and things like that.
Well, hey, one of the first things I ever learned, man, is if you want to be a great writer, write a lot, read a lot.
Right, and that's the main. You know, I'm not beneath it to, like, if somebody needs me to be a crafty, I'll be the crafty, you know. And if somebody needs me to read their script and give them notes, if somebody needs me to step in and do this, so be available for that kind of stuff, but also be true to your own vision. So
the only thing I would ask, Laura, is I need someone for some reason no one wants to do it. I need someone to take a video of me dancing disco in a sumo thong. It's you know, it's my little personal bucket list type thing, man. So you know, maybe you could help me out with that and videotape me, and I'll even do, in the middle of my disco dance, I'll do a sumo stomp.
There you go. All right. Well, let's schedule that, JD.
Anam, you give advice to someone coming up as far as acting, because you have already accomplished what a lot of actors have not been able to accomplish at your age. You've actually been in major television shows for your area. So
I don't get your question. Can you repeat
give advice
again?
to someone young wanting to be an actor.
Oh, so first of all, acting is like a lot of people don't take acting seriously. They want to just be famous in no time, and they want to be an actor or a model, right? So for a new actor, I will say that they should first of all watch a lot of movies, how actors are performing, what genres they like to do, and they have to go through some courses, the acting courses. They should know that what is voice modulation, what is body language, and it takes a lot of practice to be an actor. Obviously, I mean, nobody can be a good actor like no time.
Yeah.
So yeah. Sorry.
That people want to skip steps. They want the awards without the actual work.
No, I didn't hear you properly.
So
much disturbance.
Skip steps. People like jumping steps. They want to have all the accolades, the fame, and the awards without actually putting the work in.
So there is a lot they have to do before coming on the award stage. So you have to really practice and go through some, I will say, some acting courses, and have a grasp on your voice modulation, your postures, your body language. And like when I started off, I used to rehearse a lot of scenes in front of the mirror, so I actually know what I'm doing. So checking my expressions and throwing a dialogue in different ways. So and I used to rehearse my script in the home also, not just on a set. So in my home also, so I know exactly what I'm doing on the set when I actually reach there. So it's like a lot of work required from the actor's side. So it's just not like you have the script and you go on the set and then you just give dialogues. It's not like that. So yeah, I think being an actor is a tough job. You have to be, and you have to be intelligent enough also, like when you are giving a dialogue, when you're acting, you have to be intelligent enough to understand the dialogue and to feel it. Yeah. So yeah.
Well, I think Laura was alluding to the same thing, and I think Laura can agree with me on this. Writing's the same way. It takes years and years of practice and doing and reading and all those things. I mean, how many people have you met, Laura, where they just pick up a screenwriting program and then all of a sudden they think they're a writer?
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know, and then they're like, well, all my friends like it. I'm like, really?
That's why they're your friends. They're going to like whatever, right?
Yeah. And then they make the mistake of asking me to look at it. And I'm like, okay, I'll still try to find something positive, but I'm like, holy crap, dude, you need to like write a lot more and you need to read a lot more. This literally has like something over here with nothing connecting any of this until you're over here. I'm like, writing, especially screenplay writing, is needs to be tightly woven, impactful, memorable, and it needs to be threaded together like a tightly woven blanket or something. You know what I mean? Like it takes a lot of skill and a lot of effort and a lot of work, and it takes all the things that came before it to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and a lot of reading and a lot of all those things. Yeah. I find it insulting as from an actor standpoint or a writing standpoint or many other standpoints when someone calls themselves something when they haven't earned it yet.
Yeah.
It's like people don't do that with like musical instruments, because literally if you said, oh, I'm awesome at guitar, someone will hand you a guitar and say, show me. You know, if all you've learned is one chord, you're gonna. I mean, people don't do that with stuff that actually requires physical, visual skill, but they'll do it all day long as an actor and a writer, saying that they can do those things, and when in actuality they put none of the work actually in to do that.
Well, it's sort of like talking about Anna, like doing the work and taking the classes, and you know, not only just acting classes or scene study, but movement, voice, you know, singing, whatever you need to do, because that's your instrument, right? That's what it is. And for someone like JD and I, who are writers as well as directors, you know, we have to practice. We have to do that. We have to put in the work and do that kind of thing. I've had people say, "Oh, I got this idea. Somebody just needs to write it." Write it then. See how easy that is, you know? Everybody thinks they can be a movie star. They can be this famous TV personality or whatever, just because they're good looking or whatever. Well, that'll be okay for a while, but then that comes and goes. It fades. You do have to.
And then those are the Megan Foxes. Those are the Casper Van Cline, where they got opportunities because they were good looking, but then they never actually learned the skills. So then they end up becoming like just a B-level, you know, and dropping out of sight, because sooner or later, these people want to make money, which means you got to bring it, which means that like, you got to actually have skill to go along with the good looking part. You know what I mean?
Right.
So anyway, enough of that. It's past Mark's bedtime.
Too many lightsaber flourishes.
Your little acrobatic wingtip feather tucks of lightsaber semantics.
Yeah, the praying mantis of lightsaber techniques.
I would like to see that, man. You with a lightsaber in a praying mantis position. That would be a good visual, man. Hey, so anyway, it's been amazing talking to both of you. It's been pretty good talking to Mark, but amazing talking to both of you guys. You've been amazing guests. You're both very talented, beautiful spirits. I wish you nothing but the best. And as always, I mean, Laura already knows this, but as always, anything I can do to help, just let me know. Now, remember, Anam, to do the stunt thing. Go find a stunt group.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Good
idea.
Directors like that anyway. They like seeing in actors diversity of skill sets, and it also shows them you put some effort into doing stuff. You know what I mean? So, and especially that's the most popular thing right now is action of different varieties mostly superhero, but there's still like that's the main thing being shot right now, whether it's horror or superhero or whatever it is. There's a lot of action films being shot now. So anything an actor can do to add to their skill sets and open more doors is a good thing.
Open more horizons. Yes.
Yeah,
True.
and that's the easy thing to do. Usually they do those classes where it's like a 3-week course. They teach you the basics of how to fall and stuff, and then you get a certificate, and then you can put that on your resume. But anyway, we're talking to both of you guys. It's been an amazing night. You guys, anyone interested in supporting them, either contact me or Mark, and we'll figure out a way of you connecting to them that they're comfortable with, and then you can help support their endeavors and their aspirations. But anyway, this is JD Glasscock. That's Mark Potter. These are my beautiful guests. This is Lola. You've been watching Stormcrow, Dreamers, talking to dreamers. As always, dream and dream big.
Night.
Right.
Have a good night.
Good night.